Welcome, everyone. Welcome. I am Dr. Amina Ali. I will be your moderator today. I want to welcome you to the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights monthly promotion. And we're going to try to do this on a monthly basis. But this month, for the month of August, we are going to be in contention with understanding the role and the voice of men in the suffrage of women. And today we are going to have so many topics to choose from. We're not even going to stop at one. We're going to have many, as you see outlined in the flyer. But the voice that you will hear today will be one that is very familiar to most of you. We will also be speaking on topics that he is very, very strong, very poignant, very respected in the community on, and we will be listing him as well. A few housekeeping rules. As we begin, we're going to ask again to keep all devices on mute while we are in progress. We are also going to ask that each and every person that is going to be on camera to make sure that your camera is adjusted, stable, and still, because this program is being recorded, and that we make sure that all that are in attendance that will be viewing this will keep the proper respects of decorum by keeping your devices on mute and keeping all of your questions directed to the chat. Please welcome yourself in this chat by directing all of your questions there. You're welcome to introduce yourself, tell a little bit about who you are and what you're doing, and also leave some points of connection so others may be able to reach out to you. We are going to be welcoming you to A Woman's Worth, a conversation. And we're speaking on the male voice today. And we are welcoming this male voice who is very powerful in the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights, an elder in his own right, and an experienced orator in the role of women and the suffrage that it entails. We are also welcomed by the most honorable, the most esteemed, and the greatest woman's voice that I have heard in eons. Queen Mother Catherine Hall Trujillo is with us today. I am smiling. I'm showing all 32 teeth right now because she is here and with us. Prayerfully, she will lead us in our opening prayer. To the embassy ambassadors, the consul generals, high commissioners, diplomats, dignitaries, honored guests, family members, supporters, and local attendees, with all protocols in place, I welcome you to A Woman's Worth, a program sponsored by the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights, our supporters, and our allies. I welcome you today. My name is Dr. Amina Ali. I am welcoming you live on our live stream feed as well as here on Zoom. We are committing to excellence by setting the standards in advancing solutions to gender and human rights, sexual and gender-based violence, and those women that are survivors of intimate partner, domestic violence, human and sexual trafficking, and those that are former victims of the child bride and slave trade, respectively. We are bringing into great contention those that are looking for solutions, advancing these principles, and making repeatable solutions to those communities in need. I want to welcome you today, and I want to also bring you into the understanding of what FIRE is doing. For those that are present on the live stream, I want to welcome Columbia University, Fordham University, NYU Langone, and the students there in attendance, and of course our esteemed interns that are here working behind the scenes, making all of this flow so effortlessly. I want to thank you all for joining us. Thank you for those that are here in attendance here on Zoom. Dr. Chibundu, who is a huge advocate in mental health and psychological health. We have the Embassy of Trinidad and Tobago for the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights, to include Emissary Sarah John. We also have Dr. Redeemed Honor, who is a chaplain in her own right and is welcoming her energy from the UK. We also have with us here Dr. Cindy Singletary, who is welcoming herself here. She is going to be welcoming the chaplaincy protocols here in the U.S. And we have quite a few family members and dignitaries that are loading on now. So I welcome you today. Why are we doing this today? Why are we doing this today? We're going to be answering that question and many more as we bring Queen Mother Catherine Hall Trujillo to the floor to open us up in prayer.
Good day. I am so happy to be here at this moment. And I am also so happy to be able to open this historic event with a blessing, with the opportunity to say good morning, Most High. We come to you today just full of joy, full of anticipation, full of courage to open our hearts and open our minds to what you will make sure is presented to us today, to be able to accept it and to be able to accept the assignment that will be a part of this revolution and revelation. For that, we all say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to represent us, to represent the people that we love, to represent the planet on which we live, and the opportunity to co-create a better world. We thank you and we say, Ashe, Amen. And so it is.
Amen. Thank you, Queen Mother. I thank you so very much. On behalf of the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights, the Elder Council to which she is a part, I welcome you today. So in speaking about co-creating a new world, as Queen Mother put in that very poised prayer, we are co-creating a great avenue that is going to be energetic and powerful. We are welcoming many, many energies, but we are setting our souls to set a solution, repeatable and sustainable solutions that we can take forth. So today is no different. Our why for today is to make sure that we remember that although we women are in this seems like powerless struggle, we are powerful because of the support and the allies that we have. We set our own standards in community and society, and we bridge this gap with understanding that we are the solutions and the people that we have been waiting for. We also bring into tangent the understanding that those that are among us are men and male voices. They have an energy, they have a solution, and they have a power about them that is very formidable and very understandable into these solutions. And we need to make sure that we don't ostracize and alienate in the inclusion of others or the recognition of that inclusion. So today we are going to be welcoming a very, very powerful, powerful voice. It is a complete pleasure and privilege to offer the experience, the work, and the collaborative effort with the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights for the objectives of peace, goodwill, humanitarian, and other vessels in the 17 SDGs that we support in our mission with the United Nations. The qualifications and the experience that we bring will allow us to bring forth these solutions that we speak about and put an execution of these services that we are bringing. The voice that we bring for you today is none other than His Excellency Ambassador Andrew Ramjohn. His Excellency's area of knowledge and expertise lie within finance and funding, due diligence and compliance. He's an expert in conflict resolution, public relations, human resources, youth and gender affairs. Sexual and gender-based violence rounds out his talents with women's empowerment. He is an advocate for climate change and carbon zero initiatives. His corporate sustainability responsibility and sustainable energy programs promote and sustain the environment and waste management. Local government support and governance is best practices for him in the transformation, service, and delivery, and the improvements of global learning, health, urbanization, and community resilience. His Excellency Andrew Ramjohn is a strategic thinker. He is experienced in coordinating the implementation of a vision and establishing crucial relationships within individuals, corporations, and institutions that partner government, international, and NGO organizations. He is a talented senior advisor and an executive with over 31 years of experience in the areas of finance and funding of projects worldwide. His humanitarian and international human rights ambassador and special envoy to the CARICOM in North America and Caribbean Commercial Trade Zone. And he is our ambassador to the CARICOM and Trinidad and Tobago for the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights. It is a complete pleasure, Your Excellency, to welcome you today and to welcome your voice in this platform. Please give us a few words of introduction.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all. Thank you as always, Your Excellency, Dr. Amina Ali, for asking me to speak on these topics today. Thank you to the entire FIRE team and ambassadors, emissaries, dignitaries, visitors, and special invited guests who are looking and listening. It is my sincere prayer that they will come away from this meeting today with a different outlook on the discussed topics and remembrance that will make an impact as you endeavor to make a difference in the world. I suspect that it may come as a surprise to some, but for me, I will speak from personal experience on the first topic. And I'll just close that off right there. Dr. Ali, over to you.
Thank you, Ambassador Ramjohn. We have a full hour of this excitement and this energy. He is so soft-spoken, but he's so powerful in his own right. We are going to be speaking about pathology of women's suffrage, the role of the male voice in the empowerment of Ambassador Ramjohn. We'll be talking about the role of fathers to their sons and the origin of the need to interfere. What do I mean by interfere? Men to step up and to be in that space, to be able we are sending forth both through the male voice and through the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights. So, Ambassador Ramjohn, as we are talking about these topics today, and I know that this is something near and dear to you as an elder and statesman in your own right, dealing with this from the origins of your advocacy for women, I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I'm going to ask them in a particular order. But I'm going to ask them as it relates to how we are to address these issues. And the first issue, as we talk about, is going to be on paternity. And we speak about paternity, and not in the DNA side, but we speak about paternity as it relates to the role of father to their sons and the greater advantageousness that we speak about in the role and the understanding of what men are called to do. What are some of the things that we speak about? And what is some conversation that you have around the role of father and sons as it relates to a woman's work? The floor is yours.
Thanks again, Your Excellency. And as I stated earlier, I will speak from personal experience of what I did when my now absent wife became an expectant mother. And I feel it's best to address it from a personal point of view and my own personal experiences. I know yourself and Queen Mother and Dr. Lomax. I don't know if she's here or not, but I am sometimes, maybe that's why I'm figuring everyone is afraid to speak on the matter, because, you know, you guys have this experience on birthing and all that sort of thing, but I figured I'd give it a go anyway. So for whatever it's worth and what I've learned from my personal experience, the first thing I recognized was that if she was to be an expectant mother, that made me an expectant father. And that's when it dawned on me for the first time. A statement that is often heard, and I questioned often enough, why did some couples announce their expected baby with, "we are pregnant"? I mean, only the woman is pregnant, right? Or so I thought. But I was proud and happy, of course, but I was also deeply concerned because the reality was I knew absolutely nothing about this. I had only heard the stories, like someone would tell at their experience at a dentist's visit. And that's scary, you know what I mean? So for those of you who have come to know me by now, my first decision was, of course, to educate myself based upon the real truths and not the stories and myths out there. Child psychology, raising a child, what to expect from a newborn baby, etc., etc. I couldn't believe how many books were out there on this subject. Of course, this was the first time I was looking at these topics, right? The more topics I saw, the more scared I became. After all, how could the expectant mother expect me to learn all this in just 9 months? I mean, wow. But seriously, to all my brothers out there, I also realized that there were going to have to be changes made in my own lifestyle. And I started out by making a list that went something like this. Number one, no more a cut down hanging with the guys. I would soon not have time for that anyway, if I was going to be any kind of a quality father to my newborn son or daughter. Two, if this meant giving up certain friends who either did not understand or would attempt to belittle me, he was immediately cut off. After all, I just realized for the first time, he was a father too, but didn't seem to be a participating parent. Three, I was determined to be the best father that I could be, or at least one of the best. But more of this will become evident later. So for the moment, to school I went in so many different ways. So first thing, guys and brothers out there, let's look at what I learned from the start of the news by first looking at some of the call on my telephone. That's my fault. I apologize.
That's okay. Uh-oh, you froze again.
So that's a stubborn caller. So I'll begin with the do's. I will begin with the do's and the don'ts. That's one of the disadvantages of doing these calls on your telephone, I guess. I'll have to revert to the computer one of these days. But where these are my opinions, I want to say that they really did work well for me. And quite frankly, guys and brothers, especially, a husband's responsibility during pregnancy, prenatal and postnatal, and for the next 18 years, is taking care of the pregnant wife. And with that being said, let's go. So for number one, on the do's, do tell your wife she's beautiful. That whole giant big belly thing may not be your bag, but not only is your wife doing the work right now, she probably feels more vulnerable than ever before. For me personally, I believe that the most beautiful and radiant woman in the world is a woman with child. That's only my personal opinion. Two, do go out of your way to help in any way possible. I have learned that 7 magic words when your partner is pregnant is, what can I do to help, honey? This is actually for you guys. Yeah. And brothers, since I was 10 years old, I used to hang out with my mom. That was one of my best hobbies. I learned at an early age how to cook, how to wash laundry and dishes, do household chores, bake, even sewing. But that's up for another discussion. That was a funny experience, that sewing. But I really never did have to ask my wife that question. I did what I knew had to be done. And I am so grateful today because I am now a single parent and still do the same chores, coupled with being both a father and a mother. Number 3, do offer to rub her feet and or legs occasionally. Apparently, there is really nothing more heavenly than a foot rub when you're pregnant. I didn't know that. I do now. Number 4, do show her that you're taking an interest in the whole pregnancy by speaking to her about the books you bought and are reading to educate yourself. Ask her for ideas and input. Do surprise your wife by bringing home a pint of her favorite ice cream or something she has that horrible craving for. After all, every woman loves surprise gifts, and every pregnant woman loves surprise gifts she can eat. Lesson learned. Number 6, do help if she struggles with that dreaded morning sickness. Be there with her, and whenever you can, rub her back, offer her a glass of water, bring her a towel. Morning sickness can be a painful experience. I would compare that as an avid fisherman and an outdoor interest. I like to go out on the sea. I've never been seasick, but I've heard it's a horrible thing. And I imagine that this morning sickness is as horrible and painful as that is. So encourage your wife, stand by her side and make her feel comfortable. Set up a resting place for her so she can relax when the morning sickness hits. Number 7, do be sensitive. Things will change in the next few months. There will be mood swings, emotional struggle, pain. During this time, these shifts are natural. So learn to be patient when your wife goes through these changes. Be sensitive to her requests and always respond with kindness. This will make her feel gratitude towards you. Number 8, do encourage and support her. Your wife needs support and encouragement at this stage of her life. Pregnancy is a time of several ups and downs. On the one hand, she is happy and excited. On the other hand, there are physical changes, uncertainties, and fear. During the journey that is her pregnancy, it is important that you encourage her and remind her that you are with her and she need not worry. Number 9, do plan with her. Awaiting your child's birth is exciting. As a responsible couple, it is important that you plan for the future so that you are ready once your baby arrives. Make plans with your wife and discuss all the things that are important. This will encourage her and remind her that you too are indeed in this together. This is also the time you can start thinking of the names for your little one. Number 10, do visit the doctor. Accompanying your wife to the doctor's visits is an important thing you should do during her pregnancy. Visiting the doctor can get stressful if there are complications, and you should not leave your wife to face it all alone. Whenever your wife schedules a doctor's appointment, you must go with her. In my experience, again, I remember overhearing once 2 nurses speaking about how they've never seen a father coming to all their wives' visits. But I didn't stop there. I went to all the prenatal classes too. After all, we were pregnant. So I will stop there with the do's. But please, guys, brothers, there are so many other ways to help support and encourage that beautiful and radiant woman with child. If I may, please allow me to get into some of the don'ts, as they are just as, or even more important, as they address her stress and self-esteem that are so necessary at this time. If you're a partner of a recently pregnant person, Please take my advice on these specific things that you should and should not do. Some, I assure you, may sound funny, but believe me, it is the truth. Dr. Ali, I would just like to cue you and the text to please have them stand by. But let me continue with some of the don'ts. Number one, when your wife says, I think I'm pregnant, try not to let the words, but I wanted a mountain bike or anything similar come out of your mouth. You know who you are. Two, be supportive, but not bossy. It may be your child, but it's in her body. And if her body wants an entire tub of sour cream lathered over one chip, then so be it. Number three, don't say things about how her belly looks. For example, looks like there's an alien inside. Well, even though there kind of is, they're freaked out enough about the whole thing and don't need reminders of, oh, that's so weird. Oh my God, it's moving. They know, brothers. They know. So, number four, don't volunteer your pregnant wife to be the designated driver every Friday night. She did not get pregnant so that she could endure crazy drunk people for 9 months. Number five, and I mean this, don't give her any advice, ever. Not on clothes, not on what she should read, not on what she should or should not eat, not on anything. There are enough people out in the world telling her what to do already. And right now, she needs you specifically for your massage skills. So, guys, don't ever say, maybe you would feel better if you got some exercise. Oh my God. When you're pregnant, going to the bathroom is an exercise. Waking up or walking up 3 steps is an exercise. Sneezing is an exercise. Come on, guys. Come on. So for my number 8, whenever they say, do you want to feel the baby move? Guys, don't hesitate. Immediately say yes every single time, even if the whole thing weirds you out. Number 9, don't say, look, we weigh the same amount and then laugh hysterically. Guys, let me tell you, if she could catch you or move her arms past her stomach, she would punch your lights out. And 10, finally, try to remember, she's going to cry a lot at commercials, over bowls of cereal. If you look at her wrong, if you hug her, it's going to be a huge tear fest. So try not to be scared. She might be normal again in about 18 years. There probably is a lot more advice that I could give on this, but time is limited. Pregnancy is just the beginning of a long, messy, scary, tearful, but wonderful time. So, Excellency, I'd like to pause for a moment while we watch a very short video that I've asked you and your team so kindly to prepare for us, please, if you may. I'm not getting any audio. I was not getting an audio on the video, Dr. Ali.
Can you see it now? Can you see the screen?
No, I'm not seeing the screen and I wasn't hearing the audio. I don't know if everyone else was experiencing the same thing.
Oh, no. Okay. And we did this. We did do this.
Yes, and it went well.
And it went well. Okay, so what I will do in the interest of time, I am going to interject a comment while they're doing that. There are a few pointers. First of all, I'm getting such great feedback in the chat. The consensus is this is needing to be shared by everyone, to everyone. This is rules of engagement, if you will. And pregnancy in and of itself is something that is an experience for both male and female. The actual actions of it is more feminine, but again, the experiences that you just gave us is more than ready for us to appreciate in real time. So I am seeing some from Fordham has, Brendan says, if you are rubbing her feet, is she appreciating it or is she just going to sleep? It's been my experience that every time I do it, I can never tell if it's good or not because she immediately falls asleep. Well, Brendan, I have to say that that's the purpose, to relax us. So you actually did the job without even realizing that you accomplished the task, but that is the piece. Our feet swell, whether either,
Yes.
you know, we can have preeclampsia or toxemia, but even if we don't, we just have an increase of fluid in the body. And of course, gravity pulls it down. So our feet and our ankles swell, and it may be just a natural occurrence. So rubbing them is a lymphatic piece, which means it allows the body to release the fluid, drain it back into other areas, and thus take the tension and the swelling off of the feet and the ankles. So of course, if you do that long enough, yes, I'll go to sleep and I'm not even pregnant. So that is a piece that is definitely understood to be a great de-stressor and a relief. Clarence says, and this is from NYU Langone, he says, I'm an older gentleman, but recently had a baby in my 40s. This is a new experience for me as this was an oops baby. So hearing this all over again is very refreshing to a more mature mind and one that can appreciate the advice. Thank you very much. So I want to thank you, Ambassador. We're going to see if we can get this video back up and running. Oh gosh, she said that it was working and I don't see it on the screen, but I'm going to try to share the screen to see if it was. In the meantime, we have Brenda, who is saying that she is currently pregnant. Oh, wow. She is looking to have her baby in the beginning of November and shares the sentiment with her husband. She says she is asking for the recording so that she will be able to give it to her husband directly so that he would be able to get this information in real time. So I thank you. Also, you're getting a great review right now from the schools. And what it is that we are going to be putting forward is great information that is going to go toward others. And what it is that we are seeing to be true and right. I am still getting technical glitches from this. She's saying that it's not loading properly. Okay.
Well, let's continue, Dr. Ali, if I may.
Sure.
Again,
and
in consideration of the time.
Sure. I like that soft opening that you gave, and I'm going to transition to a little harder pretext in this. We talked about pregnancy, which is great. We gave that advice. We gave that sweetness. We gave little hints of beauty, especially with that ice cream, because you can send that over to me now. But we are going to understand that there is a level to this, and we're going to increase the level of intensity similar to the labor pains and the levels of labor. And we're going to go to question number 2. We're going to speak about international justice as it relates to women in the maternal world, in the prenatal world, and those that are choosing other choices in their maternal care. So we're going to be talking about abortion rights. And of course, the hot button topic now in the United States is Roe v. Wade. And what it is that we are seeing in the change of the male's voice in the discrepancies that deal with women. You know, there's 80% of us that say that men don't even belong in this conversation, let alone in the context of our options, choices, and decisions. There are also those that are saying that whatever it is that we are doing, we should be doing with a greater efficacy to support and promote our own well-being, to better choices and better collective reasoning within the family in that support. So as it relates to this international justice in this this knowledge or this pathology of the role of the male's voice, speak to us about this this view, this elder view, this more mature and experienced view as it relates to the traumas that are happening in the decisions and the roles and the decisions that are happening with women as it relates to the laws written by men. So the floor is yours.
With pleasure, Dr. Ali. I'd like to just ask, should we have time? There is so much more that I have to share on that paternity topic that I didn't even touch on as yet. And actually, it has some information there for Clarence, especially at the age of 40, that he might be interested in. Anyway.
Okay, we can use that in our takeaway, in our final assessment. You can use that as a gem that you can offer him, maybe 1 or 2 points. And I definitely can add that into the narrative. So go ahead. I'm so sorry. I'm going to mute.
Oh, that's quite all right, Dr. Ali. What I will do, actually, also, I will send you the full presentation to be shared as you see fit to anyone who would like a copy. So that's absolutely not a problem. Okay. So on the topic of the Roe v. versus Wade and the abortion, first of all, I'd like to give thanks for the references that I read from, which was reproductiverights.org, the Washington Post, Global Justice Center, and of course the OHCHR. With that in mind, I want to start off by saying abortion rights are human rights. And if the Supreme Court overturns Roe versus Wade, it will contradict the US obligations under international human rights law. I dare say, not just US obligations, but worldwide obligations. So, with the international justice regarding abortion, let me begin with the current legal situation and my comment. So we are looking at international human rights and abortion, the spotlight being on Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health. Over the past 25 years, over 50 countries, including South Africa, Nepal, Ireland, and recently Mexico and Argentina, have taken steps to expand abortion access. In many cases, the changes were grounded in international human rights law, which recognizes abortion as essential healthcare and necessary to achieve women's autonomy, equality, and well-being. The United States, where anti-abortion lawmakers in the states have passed over 500 laws restricting access over the past decade. And where the US Supreme Court is being asked to overturn nearly 50 years of precedent protecting abortion rights, thereby joining the few outliers such as Poland and Nicaragua. Abortion rights now hang in the balance in the upcoming Supreme Court case Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization, which will be argued by the Center for Reproductive Rights on December 1st. The case challenging Mississippi's 15-week abortion ban will be the first time the court has reviewed the constitutionality of a pre-viability ban since Roe. And it carries implications. This must be understood. It carries implications for human rights around the world. International and human rights organizations and legal experts have weighed in to support the center's case, submitting what is known as amicus, or friend of the court, briefs to the court. In the briefs, UN human rights experts, legal scholars in international human rights and comparative law, and organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch urge the court to uphold the right to abortion and the human rights of people who can become pregnant. And if the court does overturn or undermine Roe, it will find itself in the company of a small cohort of regressive, increasingly undemocratic countries. These international human rights briefs argue that 1, access to abortion is protected under international human rights law. 2, access to abortion care is necessary to realize the rights of pregnant people and people who can become pregnant to health, life, equality, privacy, non-discrimination, and freedom of torture, among others. The United States must comply with its obligations under international law, and the Supreme Court should use international law to inform its decision. Number 4, restricting abortion runs counter to the global trend of expanding access to abortion care and the human rights norm against regression of rights. Number 5, abortion bans and restrictions directly harm people in need of abortion care and disproportionately impact marginalized communities, including Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, people with disabilities, people in rural areas, young people, and those having difficulty making ends meet. Number 6, and my final point, the US action to restrict abortion rights could embolden anti-rights activists around the world and restrict these other human rights. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you. I can't even begin to say yes to everyone. I was sitting here trying to jot down points to it, but as I was jotting it, I was just like, yes, yeah, yes, especially that last one. There is a ripple effect to these monumental structures that are happening in this international law that's coming. There is a ripple effect in other countries. There's setting precedents that if the United States keeps this as a permanent issue and aspect, that there is rules in the UK that are going to be overturned, governing the palace and the Queen being over the Catholic Church. There's also going to be an overturning in certain countries like Spain, which is a huge Christian country, and those that abide by the rules of the Catholic Church or the Christian denomination. So yes, there's huge international implications. And if it happens here in the United States and we don't continue in this fight, they will set a precedent worldwide for this to be overturned. Everyone has a Roe v. Wade in their country. Everyone has a standard of care that is being measured. And even in certain places like Cuba, where that is just unheard of, and the family is more precedented for that support and that care and making sure that all pregnancies are wanted, needed, and supported, that there is still adversaries that are still wanting for those to have that choice in that same capacity. So even if that is your choice, that it's done with the same care, family support, and advocacy, even in such supported countries as Cuba. I know Queen Mother can speak hours on the potency and the privatization of pregnancy in its sourcing within the family, and how family planning takes on a whole new meaning when you talk about the support and the advocacy that the woman has before she gets pregnant, in the education, instruction, and the delivery of that information in her life. So I know that this can happen and a male's voice can be just as strong in its opposition as it is in its support. And I thank you for this. And I thank you for the message that you give it.
On that note, Dr. Ali, I want to also state that even where the abortions are protected by law, new political majorities can repeal those measures or dispute them in courts.
Absolutely,
and
absolutely. And that's
ultimately, indeed, ultimately, the international record shows that there is no foolproof way to safeguard abortion rights. They are regularly subject to challenge in both the legal and political realms.
That's
and
right.
For that, I say, and I say vociferously, we need advocacy now.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, I can even refer to court decisions, but it makes no, Canada, Mexico, as you said, Cuba, the Canadian Supreme Court, their rulings, and all of that.
Right.
The thing is, it makes no difference. At this point in time, we need to be advocates.
That's right. That's right. Well, Cuba will never have that. They will never, ever. I don't even see how they could even formulate their thoughts around anything that remotely relates to having a Roe v. Wade. But there are the suffrage. And speaking of suffrage of that, we're going to go into our third question in the interest of time. We're going to speak about women's suffrage. I know I was at the tail end of its highlight in the ERA here in the United States. When I was born, my grandmother was talking about it, but she was speaking about it as it happened when she was coming up in the what is it, when she born, 1916. So she was talking about it as it was coming to be. My mother chimed in when she was born in 1940, and she came into understanding what she had, what she was given, what was available, what the rules were, why the ERA wasn't passed, why it's still not passed. Let's just go to the record and say that. Why there was a huge disparity in that, why men pushed it back so much. So we're going to talk about women's suffrage for about 5 or 6 minutes. Let's talk on the history and the pathology for those of us that are younger than maybe me. That would be like teenagers. But anyway, but for those that don't know the history of the suffragettes, and words that we don't use anymore, give us a little background, a little pathology on that and where we've come from, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ali. And, the pathology of women's suffrage, it goes back a very, very, very long way. So my dear friend and partner in this, our Alana Kling, she was very instrumental in preparing this piece. And I really am thankful to her for this. So while it was prepared by Miss Alana King, I am simply the messenger. So as an introduction, a beautiful gift to humanity. That is the value of women, just as they are, even in the most primary sense. Being conscious about the value of a gift makes all the difference in the lifetime of that gift, as it would indicate the care with which we treat that special thing. You might think that woman, though she has survived well and made her way into every faculty of modern civilization, that her stride would have been less throughout history because of her value to the very thing she serves so well, human society. Consequently, history shows that it has not been easy for women to have a say. And that's so unfortunate. But that's why we're here today and every other time we meet. The pathology of women's suffrage explicitly shows a history of women fighting to have some say in the decisions that have affected them adversely. But what does this account of strife and struggle by women really mean? What is the history of women's suffrage telling us? How can we use it for the benefit of humanity's future? Today, we can speak freely about not only the pathology of women's suffrage, but their struggle, which is real. And that's a good place to start the beginning of a new dawn of better decisions, deeper understanding, and the application of higher intelligence and balance in the way we do things moving forward.
You froze up again.
The history of women's suffrage, again, phone call, sorry, I apologize. I
Okay.
apologize.
Okay. No worries.
From the earliest accounts of history, women have always been written about. Her beauty, her intelligence, and the power she has had over men. In power, but seldom ever have we seen accounts of her possessing her own power as a ruler, as a standalone policymaker, and master over civilized publications. Politics has predominantly been a boys' game. And I say boys' game, and I mean boys' game. I didn't say a man's game, because some of them really act like little boys. So today, when we look at the world and the human condition, we look at the effects of men making all the decisions for everyone. We are beckoned to ask ourselves a few fair questions. Number one, have the patriarchs who have been running this world with intentional or unintentional masculine bias done right by humanity and the earth, our home, by good and fair measure? By good and fair measure, I mean, for example, what is the scale of suffering as opposed to happiness experienced by mankind as a result of masculine predominance over decisions made for everyone over the years? Two, is the world we currently living in one that will continue to survive and thrive progressively or self-destruct slowly before the eyes of generations to come? Generations we are now more than ever most uncertain about. So two, with these questions in mind, we must now look at the role opportunity has played in the pathology of women's suffrage. Through a long history, the most significant change to occur in women's disposition in the political arena came between the 1800s and early 1900s, when the idea of the abolition of slavery ensued. Although there was long since efforts made to leverage women's rights, including suffrage, it was not until the argument of temperance within the fight to abolish slavery that support came for women's suffrage. Those who supported temperance, the movement which advocated moderation in policy regarding human life, also decided to support women's suffrage too. A most wonderful opportunity indeed. Whether women were lucky to be supported by benevolent 19th century men or simply used to escalate the argument for the abolition of slavery is a matter that God shall decide. Either way, it was opportunity which worked in the favor of women to finally win the right to vote in national elections by early 20th century in New Zealand, Australia, Finland, and Norway for starters. Three, with the aftermath of World War I, 1914 to 1921, another opportunity arose. Since so many men were lost in the war, the disproportion in ratio accelerated the amount of women further in the United States and other European territories in the post-war period. Advancement in the pathology of women's suffrage seem only to occur with opportunity created by other circumstances and not necessarily an earnest attempt by empowered men who considered balance and the value of women in bringing that balance to civilized society through her place in policy and decision-making at a premier level of power, thus weighted voice. In conclusion, today women still depend on opportunity created by external circumstances to have their issues addressed with solid attention. Commercialized sex, human trafficking of women and girls worldwide, oppressive and archaic policies which deny women's rights and make women's empowerment difficult or impossible, cruel ideologies against the female gender which cause insurmountable suffering for women globally. These things are happening right now, and women need empowered men to include them in having a say. Men who can articulate the value of the balance of gender in power and decision-making are men who will lead in the future, because that's where the success lies, in fairness and in balance. There is no longer any gender that is uneducated, unexposed, or ignorant. Technology has bridged that gap. Opportunity may not necessarily be waited on anymore. So the most intelligent approach to the future of women would be a proactive one at this critical stage in history. So I understand that we have just only touched the surface of women's suffrage, but given time, I have opened the topic for discussion in future dissertations. And at that time, perhaps we can address more current issues. I need to say one more thing, please. What is truly needed, and to answer all questions, Excellency, making time short, we need advocacy. Advocacy is an activity by an individual or a group that aims to influence decisions within political, economic, and social institutions. We need activists, meaning we need persons who campaign to bring about political or social change. And we need lobbyists to take part in organized attempts to influence legislators. Thank you very much, Excellency. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I really appreciate this. I appreciate this whole topic. You did this so well that I can't say anything but thank you. I'm humbled, I'm appreciative, and I'm honored to have you on this platform. In the interest of time, I do want to recognize a few ambassadors that have come and stayed. Dr. Khadija Bashir, who is here. Thank you so very much, Dr. Bashir, for coming in and making this a grand thing for us. I'm so honored to see you come across. Ambassador Jamila Abdul Salam, who is the ambassador for Dubai and UAE. And we also have Ambassador Davisha Johnson, who is coming to us through the live stream as well. And she's representing the African Union, Region 6. So I thank you so very much for coming. We have Dr. Chisala Bwala from the Republic of the Zambia, and he is coming through. He is also one of the huge proponents of sexual and gender-based violence and the research center that he has. I'd like to introduce two of our fellows, Lady Patience. She is here today. She is coming through from Nigeria, and she's coming in understanding of what she is bringing to the table in the sexual and gender-based violence solutions. We also have Madam Jessie Benda and Aliyo Sheriff, who are also fellows here at FIRE. And I also want to take a great look to Ambassador Sarah Youssef, who is an ambassador to the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights and an attorney in her own right, who is giving great understanding of what it is that we need to do legally to make this right. So you spoke of advocacy, you spoke of the lobbyists, and now we're speaking to the lawyer that is going to help pull all of that through. And of course, we have family members. Mr. Rick Ramjohn, who is always here and always willing to lend great support in this measure by supporting you. And I want to thank you so very much. On behalf of the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights, I am going to close this session as we have other sessions coming through. And I would like to thank Fordham University, NYU Langone for the live feed. And also we are going to look to, I think it was Hofstra that was on, oh no, Columbia that was on today. So I want to thank each of the live streams from each of the respective universities for coming on. I have a million questions and answers that I can't even, literally it's 16 right here on the list and the live stream. I don't even want to count right now. But I do know that if you would, everyone would leave their information as I'm speaking. Leave your information in the chat. It is a recorded session, so the information in the chat will be recorded as well. And please allow yourself to be able to reach out and connect in that referral source. And Ambassador Andrew Ramjohn, I would like to give 30 seconds of a takeaway. Then we're going to have Queen Mother close us out, and we're going to celebrate this successful event together. So Ambassador Ramjohn, 30 seconds. I'm timing you now.
All right, great. I, again, can only refer back to the three things we need, and we need urgently. It is time. FIRE has been around long enough. We have had many dissertations and discourses and teachings and emissaries coming forward and things like that. We need now to come together. Let us be advocates. Let us be activists. Let us be lobbyists. And the time is now. We are actually behind. We need to begin all of these activities now. We have to be serious. We have to work. We have to do what we have to do, because it's only getting worse. Look around. Look around. Everything is getting worse by the minute. So let's get started. Let's become active. Let's become lobbying, and let us advocate. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ambassador. And Queen Mother, can you close us out with a few gems, a word of advice, or just some love? And we can close this session out in greatness. Thank you.
I would be happy to close us out. And I just want to say thank you, Ambassador Ramjohn, and for giving us this opportunity to be here, to be a part of what you have done, which is basically given us our marching orders. And I just pray that we have the vision to see what needs to be done and the courage to move forward. And I believe this will happen because Creator has never given us a vision without the resources to make it happen. We just have to be able to see it and believe it and start moving toward it, because it is already done. And I am so excited. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Amina. Thank you, everyone who is here and can say, I was there. I heard it and I saw it. Ashe.
Right. That's right. Thank you, Queen Mother. I was there. That's a new hashtag. I was there just to be present and in the moment. I thank you all for the support, the advocacy, and the allyship that you have been affording the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights. We thank you on behalf of the entire staff, faculty, team, ambassadors, emissaries, interns, and the supporters and allies for all the work that you have done, what you continue to do, and those ways that FIRE is a part of your collective. Until next time, know that you are who we have been waiting for. So I give you your marching orders right now. Be well and take care of yourself.